Hello, hello, hello. I would like to do a full breakdown of the veteran class, so I hope you enjoy this and you learn a lot. So Longshot is just kind of a bad skill node. Let's be honest with ourselves. I used to kind of like this node, but as you can see, we do 894 damage to a mutant, and unless we go about 15 meters back, we don't gain any noticeable damage increase until that point. So why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because how often are you actually fighting from that distance? And how often are you fighting from that distance against things that you always want just generic damage versus? Primarily, you want this kind of damage buff against bosses and crushers and like mutants and reapers. Well, everything I just said except for reapers quickly closes the gap between you and them. So the biggest time you're going to benefit from Longshot is simply when you're fighting gunners at like a drop down point and you don't need damage there. I mean, look, this is basically a white plasma gun at this point with no build, and we still almost one-shot them. So Longshot is just, I think it's most of the time a do-nothing node. Close Order Drill, however, is just kind of nice. It's 11% toughness damage reduction for each ally in your coherency. Most of the time, this isn't all that good. Most of the time, you're going to have one person fighting the horde with you. Sometimes you'll have two people close by. And there it's just generic, nice toughness DR. You can't really complain about it. Where it starts to shine, though, is if you're all huddled up at a drop down trying to kill gunners so you can push into it. In those stalemate situations, it's just 33% damage reduction versus gunners, which is wonderful. One motion is quickly becoming one of my favorite skills. This is the weapon swap speed without it. And this is the weapon swap speed with it. Yeah, it makes a noticeably big difference. And since Weapon Specialist is already such an overwhelmingly powerful way to run Veteran, you do a lot of weapon swapping. Exhilarating Takedown, this is a great node. In fact, I think this is one of the best nodes that just never gets used because Longshot is above it and is kind of bad and nobody really wants to be taking Longshot. If they are taking it, they're only doing it for Volley Adept. So this node's very simple. It's basically just a constant 30% toughness damage reduction, and every couple of seconds, it's like a giant boost of 15% toughness. That's really all there is to it. But I mean, is that, that sounds really good to me. Every 8 seconds, you're able to get, assuming like in between fights and stuff, you're not just like sitting there farming it or whatever. Getting the 15% toughness back, that's a pretty big amount to instantly restore. That's like Zealot on dodge kind of amounts. And 30% constant toughness DR is nothing to sneeze at. Iron Will is one of the best defensive nodes around, and that's 50%. Volley Adept is an interesting node. In theory, in a high-level optimized theory crafting thing, this node is garbage. But in reality, I recommend a lot of people take it because, man, a lot of people don't want to do the annoying upkeep that you otherwise would have to. So this is the reload without it. We're not going to do any reload canceling tech. We're not going to do any swapping reloading kind of nonsense. That's your reload speed. And this is the reload speed with that. And I mean, just look at the difference. It's huge. I believe for the average Joe, this is a great skill that allows you to very easily take a third of the time you spend reloading and just throw it in the garbage. Now, I will say that using Weapon Specialist to reload or using Tech to reload cancel to reload faster is what a lot of people will do when they're tryharding, and that just completely invalidates the existence of these reload speed nodes. But if you don't care to do that kind of stuff, then there's no harm in taking these if you're going to run like the bolter or the plasma gun and you plan on reloading like 10, 20 times a mission. Charismatic is pretty bad. I'll be honest with you. You just don't care about coherency. Remember, like I say in my slots video, coherency, toughness regeneration, it stops once an enemy's taken up a slot, and slots can be filled from about 7 meters away. So you need to be about 8 meters away from an enemy before you can start benefiting from it. So if there's an enemy like this guy, if he was running towards me, you know, let's say I'm fighting these guys, and then I go back here. They are still turning off my toughness regeneration from coherency. So, ugh. And then most auras just are not strong enough to care if you're benefiting from them 100% of the time. It just creates a double whammy where this skill needs help. It needs to be like 200% for me to even consider taking. Basically, if I'm spending a skill point so that I'm making sure I'm in coherency, I want to make sure I'm always in everyone's coherency. Confirmed kill is fucking fantastic. And this is the other problem with charismatic, by the way. If you just want to get down here to get to the grenades or whatever, you're never going to do this. Like, this is not a thing people do. It would be a very silly notion to take both of these. And confirmed kill is just so much better than charismatic. I don't see a world where people are realistically picking this over this. Anyway, confirmed kill stacks, and that's really, you can read the node and figure out exactly what this does, but what a lot of people still don't know, because we got a lot of new players, is that this stacks. So it gives you 10% toughness right away, and 2% toughness regeneration per second. Well, if you look, I'm regenerating 2% per second now, and now I'm getting 4%, now I'm getting 6%, now I'm getting 8%, and you can see that leads to a shit ton of toughness very rapidly, especially if you're fighting a bunch of gunners. You just kill 5 of them and you get 10% toughness back every second. That is a substantial amount. It's a good note. Everything I said about Volley Adept applies to Tactical Reload. Out for blood. I gotta correct myself here. So, this shows me right for just taking people's word on things. So, the way this node works is that it applies to every kill you get. So watch this. You see that? That's honestly pretty good. It's 5% toughness for every single kill you make. And you can see how this is actually really, really strong. And frankly, I'm going to start using this in some of my builds. Like, I will start going this way instead of this way. Because, wow, that is weirdly, like, borderline extraordinarily strong, especially on weapon specialist builds, because think about it, you have this, so you know, you get a few kills, then you swap, that's 20% toughness. Do this, shoot through a crowd once, kill 7 guys, that's like 40% toughness, and you got 20% for swapping, and you get 20% for swapping back. That's a lot, especially when you consider all this damage reduction. This node is shockingly underrepresented, and I want to make some builds with it just to show it off. I'm only going to talk about a few of these operative modifiers like this because I think these actually matter. So 5% move speed is not noticeable to the average player, but it's actually kind of a big deal. So this is the move speed with it, and this is the move speed without it. So if I can forgive you if you don't notice a difference here. But, man, from my perspective, as someone who plays this game a lot, this is, like, a crazy difference. +1 stamina is the second best thing here, and health is just kind of bad. So, this is 1/4 of a of a health Kyrios effect. This is 1/3 of a stamina Kyrios effect. So, this just provides more value, on top of stamina being better than health in general. Especially when you consider that 5% health is a Curio perk. They figured +1 stamina would be too strong as a Curio perk. Okay, now let's talk grenades. I may have a controversial take here, but I'm going to have to explain this in detail. So I really hope you give me a chance here and you don't just instantly write off what I have to say. Shredders are probably the best blitz in the entire game. If you disagree with that, then just they're one of them. Let's say that. Kraks are, in my opinion, one of the worst blitzes in the entire game. And I think I can make a very strong case for that. So I would really ask that you hear me out. And in my opinion, smokes are the worst blitz in the game. So, why did I say that about crack grenades? Because crack grenades are beloved by newer players. And it makes a lot of sense. So, cracks do a ton of damage to bosses, and they instantly kill crushers and bulwarks, which are some of the most annoying enemies for new players to deal with. Well, here's the problem. The biggest problem with cracks is that you can only hold 2 of them. Now, I will explain why that's a problem in a second, but the other big problem is their usability. So, Krak grenades, killing a crusher does not matter. We are in a meta where we have guns that can kill crushers in a second or less. We have dueling sword and knife that can just straight up one-shot crushers on a lot of builds. Dealing with like 7 crushers in a row by yourself is not something that is worth giving up your grenade for. I'm sorry, just the metagame has evolved to where those guys are like a D tier enemy that you don't even think about. The bulwark thing is nice, but I'll have something to say about that. So, the biggest thing that they do is provide a ton of boss damage, which is nice, I will not lie. It is a nice amount of boss damage. And boss damage is an underrated aspect of build crafting, so I'll give you that one. But why is 2 of them a huge problem? Because I think 2 of them is the biggest problem. Also, side note, because I know someone will say it, yeah, I know you can throw this on a crusher and then like shout to knock them over, and you might be able to stack 2 of them up to kill 2. But think about like a CIIXV or whatever it's called, where it's mostly scab faction and no ammo pickups. You'll be fighting like 5 of these guys or more at a time, and you'll be fighting like 7 of these guys at a time. Even if you throw both your cracks and get 4 kills, I'm sorry, get 2 kills with each for 4 total, that's not even half of the pack. So if you are that's the biggest issue with Krak grenades, by the way. Half of their usefulness is just that they do a ton of damage and they one-shot everything that isn't a boss. The problem is, if you are depending on cracks to kill things like crushers, what do you do when you fight one crusher pack and you use up all your cracks, then you fight another crusher pack? Are you just shit out of luck and not able to contribute anymore and you just hope your teammates deal with it? That is a recipe for disaster. So, why is 2 cracks such a problem? Demolition stockpile averages out to about 30 extra grenades, assuming you're using it well and the mission is about 30 plus minutes long. I am going to downplay the effectiveness of Demolition Team just so you can get an idea of how even if you play poorly with these nodes, this is still true. Demolition Team averages out to about, we'll say 20 to 25 grenades. I'm going to lowball this and say 15, just for the sake of the argument. So this gives you 45 grenades. So we will all agree that these are a lot of grenades. So not taking either of these nodes reduces your grenade output significantly. Well, Demolition Stockpile only ticks down when you're missing a grenade. So right now, Demolition Stockpile would be going off. So let's say we're using both of those nades. Then you kill a Rager, or your teammate kills a Rager, or what have you, and Demo Team procs, and you get a grenade. Well, then your Demolition Stockpile, it stops ticking down. Let me showcase this real quick. So you do this, and then you get a grenade from any source. You stop benefiting from that. Okay, so if you want to run both of those nodes, maybe you recognize that you have to throw both the grenades. That way you have none. This is the only way to ensure that this doesn't override this. So you either, if you want to take cracks, you either have to give up one of these nodes, which I don't think any veteran build should be doing, if I'm being honest with you. You have to give up one of those nodes, or you have to walk around with no grenades. This is the worst possible scenario. And shredders don't have this problem at all, because you have 3 of them. You can throw a shredder and then throw another shredder and wait for Demolition Stockpile to proc. Let's say I have 1 grenade and I see that I have 10 seconds left on Demolition Stockpile coming back. I'll just toss one to make sure that Demo Team can't override it. If it doesn't, I still have a grenade because Demo Stockpile just procced, and if it does, now I have 2 grenades, and I guarantee I can throw 1, so that I always have 2 spaces open for each node to proc. Now, let's actually talk about what shredders do, and why I honestly think shredders are better in every situation just as a tool than cracks are, except for bosses. Cracks are just straight up better for them. So, one of the things Veteran struggles with is Horde Clear. For a long time, he has struggled with this. You kind of had to take, like, the Devil's Claw Mark IV, which, by the way, insane fucking weapons. Just a super good sword. Or the Power Sword. Well, the power sword absolutely killed your mobility. The power sword has never been a, like, objectively, like, meta tier top weapon. Well, I guess except for the beta when it was overpowered, but that's a different story. Because it kills your mobility. The dueling sword remedies this problem a lot, but the point I'm getting at is that Veteran has always had problems choosing between, can he clear the horde even half as well as a Psyker or a Zealot or even an Ogryn can? Or does he just have no mobility and he just fights his way out of everything? Which is a good idea until you're by yourself and there's 4 Crushers and you can't kill them fast enough and you die. Shredders have been the age-old solution to this problem. You throw down a Shredder grenade and it nearly one-shots the horde. In fact, fun fact, it leaves them close enough that a single body shot is able to kill them. So if we do body shot on these guys, and then toss a grenade on them, you'll notice they're gonna die. See? So it's very, very, very nice when you're just cleaving through the horde. And then when you consider that this gives you the freedom to run both of these and to throw grenades basically as much as you want, you can, on top of every horde, drop a Shredder, then do attack, 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 attack. And those attacks, you only need one to pick them off. So these give you S-tier horde clear ability added into a build, and they give you S-tier crowd control. So you can just do something like this. Just throw it at Crushers or Maulers, and sure, if you're running a full build, you'll be able to borderline one-tap Bulwarks most of the time. And if you're going to run something like the Plasma Gun, when you knock a Crusher down in the first place from this, you can just shoot them. You can just shoot them as they're getting up. And this is obviously with not a full build, by the way. With a full build, you'll kill these guys in like 3 or 4 shots at most. So you'll kill them before they even get up. But I believe that knocking over 4 Crushers is better than just killing one at a time. Especially because you can just use the dueling sword to ensure that you one-shot them. So you just, like, pow, kill you, pow, kill you, pow, kill you, and then the final one is up. But if you will allow me for a second, you can actually make Shredders do more damage versus armored enemies than even Krak grenades. So if we have, imagine we have 4 of these guys here, right? And we have a red stim. Well, you can just do something like this. Where you drop a grenade, make sure Uncanny's still up, and look. So if you drop like 2 of these grenades with a red stim and Uncanny on 4 Crushers, that's going to give you more damage, albeit spread out across 4 Crushers, than 1 Krak grenade does, because that is effectively capped at 3,600 damage per grenade. Because, you know, it just kills them. Unless you get lucky and get a double stack. So, Shredders have the potential to be better versus armor than Kraks do in terms of damage. They will knock everything over, which eliminates it as a threat for like the next 3 seconds. It has mega positive synergy with some of Veteran's best nodes. And all of those things Kraks don't do. The only advantage Krak has over Shredder is boss damage. That is virtually the only advantage. So I understand that a lot of people really like Kraks. I've had people tell me that, oh, this build doesn't use Kraks, it's trash. If you are depending on Krak grenades to get around obstacles that your build can't get over, then I'm sorry, but your build probably needs to be reworked just a little bit. Because armor is too prevalent for you to depend on just 2 grenades to solve the problems for you. There's also another problem that I never see people talk about. We are in a meta where all a Zealot needs to do is hold charge with the dueling sword. They just do this, press charge, and let it go, and this guy's dead. So it takes a Zealot like a second or 2 to kill a Crusher. They can mow through a Crusher pack in like 5 seconds tops. Let's just count. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. It takes you about 5 seconds to kill 1 Crusher with a Krak grenade. A Zealot with a dueling sword can mow through Crushers by the time your Krak grenade kills just 1 of them. Which means if there's a Crusher pack and you're like doing something else and the Zealot's running over there, if you turn around, pull your Krak out and throw it, I guarantee you the goddamn Zealot has probably already killed it before it even goes off. And if you don't believe me, look up anyone talking about the Armor's Bane penance on Reddit. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. My fellow penance enjoyers, come on, give me a high five. I know that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You pull out the Krak, you're like, finally, I'm going to get progress on this penance, and the plasma gun guy killed it, and the Zealot ran in and killed him. It's like the modern day brain burst. Okay, now let's talk about smokes, because I've been kind of ignoring them. I'm sorry, smokes, I love you. So smokes have even more problems than Kraks. Oh man, I'm starting to sound like a hater. I'm sorry, I don't mean it. It's just these grenades are very underwhelming. So, these smoke grenades, the primary way that they are used 99% of the time, the biggest thing, the only thing that we're going to really discuss is stopping gunners. But let's think about, this is like, it's like a prisoner dilemma almost. So if you drop it on your feet so that gunners don't shoot into you, well, sometimes they'll just fucking ignore this and still do it because smokes are incredibly jank, and we don't have a hitbox viewer. But one, the smoke expansion is random, or so I've been told, and two, the hitboxes on these are like very restrictive. So this also ignores the problem that, I mean, look, it's just harder to see out of this. I'm using mods to reduce visual clutter, and it's still not the easiest thing in the world to see when you're standing inside the smoke. Okay, so option number 2. We throw it on top of the gunners. Well, one, if that guy's not marked, good luck seeing him. Like, let's just do this, you know? Like, good luck seeing that guy. Second off, let's say this guy's standing here. All he's got to do is run, like, up here and he starts shooting you again. So that's not a very effective distraction. So, the best way that I and many others have found to use smokes is to throw it halfway between yourself and the gunners so it acts like a wall, and they gotta run from all the way back there to all the way here. And you can use this as effectively mobile cover from masked gunners to get to like a Medicaid or a better position. Now, I will say, that's actually a pretty okay use of these. I will honestly give it to you guys. That is not that bad of a use. But there's a big problem with this. What if you want to just fight the gunners? You know? I wouldn't even be able to tell you there's gunners over there right now. So what happens when your teammate's not aware that's what you're using them for? They run across the smoke and they get smoked by like 7 of these guys, you know? This has a bit of... Also, if it's a lights out modifier and you drop a couple smokes, dude, I'm leaving the game. I usually refuse to leave the game if people are using things I don't like. Cough, cough, some of you guys in Dueling Sword and Smite. Because I think that's just kind of a shitty, toxic way to be. You didn't play the video game in a way that I like, so I'm gonna have baby rage now. But smokes are a bit of an exception, because smokes literally make it so I can't see anything. If it's on, like, lights out. You know, imagine it's dark out already, and then you drop this on top of it. My brother... Habibi, please, just don't do that and we'll be all fine. But yeah, smokes are a little trolly, and I genuinely think they need massive buffs. In fact, I think smokes need just a complete rework. Okay, now let's talk about this. So, get back in the fight. This node I've really warmed up to over the last year or so. This node is good for the same reason Thyraft Be Swift is good. But unlike Thyraft Be Swift, you're not going out of your way to take this. You have to take this to get to the best aura. And that kind of makes this, in some situations, a little bit better. I'm probably going to regret saying that, because people will ignore that in some situations bit. Okay, so what the hell am I talking about? Let's say you're fighting gunners, right? There's the main thing you need to know is that the best way this node is used is with strip down. So the way strip down works is, as long as you have at least 50% stamina and you're sprinting, you cannot be damaged by bullets at all. It's impossible. It doesn't matter if it's a sniper, a reaper, a boss, whatever. So if you are fighting melee guys and you feel like oh shit, there's a million gunners here, you pull your gun out and you start running. So You also use a node called duck and dive, which makes it so the first bullet shoots you up to 70% stamina. So this gives you effective oh shit immunity from ever dying to gunners. But I'll be honest with you, that is a fairly niche use for it. It's a very strong use when it works, and you have to take the node anyway. But if you aren't using duck and dive and you're not using strip down, then this node is just kind of mediocre most of the time. It's nice. It will sometimes save you, but it's really a node that tries to bail you out of a situation that even with it, you're probably dead in the first place. And it's also nice as well against melee. If you get overwhelmed by melee, this is a much less talked about use, probably because you're dead if you get your toughness broken by melee as veteran. But if you don't die to that situation, it gives you a guaranteed way out. So, you know, I wish it was like toughness restore instead of stamina restore. Anyway, so catch your breath. This node is pretty bad. 8 meters is a far bigger radius than you think. This is 8 meters, so there can't be an enemy. You need to be in, like, this circle of invincibility for this node to do anything. And I'm just going to be honest with you, you're rarely ever in an Auric Maelstrom in that, like, bubble of no enemies around you. It just doesn't happen that often. Again, the only time this happens is in a drop-down scenario when you're stalled out by gunners and you're fighting them. Which, I will say, Veteran is supposed to be really strong in that situation, but I don't know, I'd rather have this over that. These are both really terrible nodes, though, if I'm being completely honest with you. Grenade Tinkerer, this node is just kind of bad. So, Krak grenades doing more damage is ridiculous and honestly just insulting in my opinion, because it already one-shots everything that isn't a boss. So this is only making them better versus bosses. It makes them a lot better versus bosses, but dude, you couldn't also give it like a 50% radius increase so that maybe it actually just one-shots the pack of crushers? I mean, God forbid, you know, you own the thing you only get 2 of actually just solves the problem for you, you know? Maybe that would be overpowered. I don't know, man. I feel like shredders are kind of overpowered as is, so fuck it, who cares? You let the plasma gun go all these years? Whatever. So the frag grenade part of this is just not useful. I'm going to be honest with you. And I know some people disagree with that notion, but just hear me out. So it's more effect than it lets off. The radius increase is not the same as the area increase. The problem is the area of the grenade, like 70% of the area is just the bleed effect. So watch this. I'm going to throw this down, and these guys are going to get bled. The problem is the bleed on its own isn't what makes this grenade good. As you can see, the bleed is like not even half the health bar of these guys. What makes this good is the initial damage plus the bleed to follow up and leave them at like a one-shot body shot threshold. That's what actually makes this good. And newsflash about this radius increase. So you can see that this gave us, that guy didn't get hit by the explosion, that guy did. So this gives you like a 6-ish meter area on the initial explosion. If we reset everything, and then we throw the grenade like right here, which is only like 1 meter closer, look at that, you know? It's the same effect. So for the initial explosion, this is like 1-2 meters at most of an increase. For the bleed, it's crazy. You get like 15 meters on the bleed. But just putting 28 damage bleed on everything, like on the map, isn't that... It's good if you're going to throw a lot of them, but you shouldn't just be dumping 3 grenades at once. That is the sign of poor veteran play. And for the smokes, I mean, if you're using them to nullify gunners, you don't care if it has 100% duration. Smokes are a joke and need to be reworked. Sorry, dudes. Sorry to all my smoke enjoyers out there. Smoke up! Anyway. So, this is another thing that made me look like a stinky, silly Billy doo-doo head, because I just took everyone's word for it. This doesn't work on yourself, which kills the node and makes it terrible. I saw a bunch of weapon swap double barrel shotgun builds come out with this weapon that were saying to use this node. But if we look, it doesn't actually work. I just assumed that because I saw like 3 build videos suggesting this, someone somewhere tested this. Serves me right for assuming anyone else would do any amount of research. I'm definitely never taking people's word on stuff again. So, this node is awful. There's no way around it. If it worked on yourself, it would be honestly really good, but it doesn't, so it's not. The only person who's going to really benefit from this is like the Zealot, who's constantly in melee, but he doesn't really need a toughness replenish. 10% base damage is nothing, and 3 seconds is virtually 0 amount of uptime. So those two things conspire to kill this node. Then you also have to consider that arguably the worst aura in the entire game is below this node. So now, if you're going Shredders, you have to waste a point, then take this, and then you either have to waste a point taking this, or go Survivalist. There's just numerous problems with this. It's very poorly placed on the skill tree. It doesn't really do much, and it doesn't help you at all. Hey, Fat Shark, I'm going to give you a bit of a pro tip here. If you want people to take supportive nodes, make sure they can also benefit from the same support. People will be far more inclined to take a node that benefits everyone if they value the personal benefit, like Survivalist. Survivalist could not give ammo to anyone else, just myself, and you could keep these auras the same. This would still be the best aura on Veteran. It would eclipse the others. Anyway, yeah, covering fire is pretty bad. Serrated Blade is awful. The only way you can even attempt to justify this node is it lets you set up like Mercy Killer. So you can drop Flesh Tear and Lacerate, which, let's be honest, they're both pretty awful blessings in the grand scheme of things. You can drop them and use like an actually good blessing like Precog or Uncanny and still benefit from the huge damage increase of Mercy Killer. But Precog is more damage than Mercy Killer, and I think Uncanny Strike, I would rather have the armor damage personally, thanks to the Dueling Sword and one-shot breakpoints and all that jazz. So Serrated Blade really, like, the best thing that it used to do doesn't even really exist anymore. And so if you want to take the best grenade, you've got to waste 2 points to get over here. If you want to take a not very good grenade, you still have to waste a point to get over here. Anything short of taking the worst grenade in the entire game means you have to waste a point. And if you don't want this aura, which, yeah, there's pretty good reason why you wouldn't want this aura, you still have to waste those points even if you take the better grenade. So you're just locked in a constant catch-22. So, that exact same problem that I just described about the point inefficiency of the placement applies to Agile Engagement. I think Agile Engagement is a fantastic passive. Very strong. But it's not worth 3 points to go from Shredders to Agile and take Survivalist. Or go from Smokes, Agile, take Survivalist. I don't even think it's worth wasting the point to go from Kraks to Agile and then take like Fire Teamer, even if you take this aura, Close and Kill. 5 seconds isn't long enough. I wish this was 10 seconds. Or I wish that this node and this node swapped places, because then we could actually, talk about something interesting. But right now, you just have to invest so much. You either have to take a crappy grenade or a crappy aura, or just bite the bullet and waste like 2 or 3 skill points to get here. It is not good. Purely because of that. This node is good, but it's not, I have to take 2 skills that do nothing, so it's effectively a 3-point skill. It's not a 3-point skill good, but it is good. I hope that explains it. Survivalist is still one of the best auras in the entire game. So 1% ammo with a 5-second cooldown, this still averages out to, let's say this only procs 50 times in a mission. Which, if I pull up just like a scoreboard here, and I just look at like a random Maelstrom, yeah, this is, oh, this guy left, so this isn't even accurate. If I pull up like the one below this, yeah, this is definitely gonna proc at least like, dude, people need to stop rage quitting from games, holy shit. This is gonna proc like, dude, this time I was the late join, fuck, what's going on? Sorry, I'm just going crazy. Side note, rant PSA, please stop rage quitting a game the moment you get downed. Just accept that you got down, no one's gonna care. Anyway, this averages out to be about 1.5 to 2 red ammo packs at the absolute worst. At the absolute worst, that's what this is going to end up being. So, think about it like that. You just gave everyone on your team, like, 2 red ammo packs. That equates to about 8 in total. Let's assume the worst case scenario, and this only procs, like... Let's assume this only procs, like, 50 times total throughout the entire mission. That would be 1 red ammo for everyone. Are you going to really complain if 4 red ammo packs spawn in that otherwise would? If this aura just said, guarantee 4 additional red ammo packs spawn, you would still probably take this as an aura, because that's really good. Fire team just sucks. There's no way around this. It's probably the worst aura in the entire game. So we do 68 damage to infested. We take fire team. We now do 71. Whoop-de-doo. It's a nothing burger increase. There's not a single breakpoint in the game that I think this helps you reach. It just doesn't do anything. Honestly, they could make this 10%. Then it would be okay. Though they would have to buff the Ogryn's version. Okay, now let's talk about close and kill. So, if you combine these two nodes for the 10% movement speed, I mean, this is kind of crazy, no? And if you combine all of this with the knife movement tech, I mean, you can see, like, we are fucking moving here. You will, even without stamina, you'll, like, outrun the horde. Problem is, most players will not appreciate 5% movement speed. Especially because there's a bit of a catch-22 here as well. If you're taking this and this and this, and this, well, guess what? If anyone's ever out of your coherency, you are now blazing past them faster than even, like, a speed-running stealth zealot is. So, and then this compounds. You know, you're 10% faster than they are, so you are constantly, every step, moving another 10%, like, hammer units ahead than they are. Which just creates this conundrum where you will oftentimes find yourself that you're ahead of the group, you proc aggro, you have to kite backwards, and they're already fighting something, and now you're just leading things into your teammates, and it's just... People generally don't notice this movement speed, and the people who do appreciate it, you know, people like myself that love to run fast, once you're out of the coherency, it's also very jarring to go from this level of move speed to not this level of move speed. So if I'm expecting to have this to do like a sprint, slide, dodge away from a crusher overhead, but you're not near me, then like, get fucked. So I can never count on it. You know, it's just got a couple problems. It all comes back down to survivalist. Killzone is just, you know, the meme of the yearbook we have, you know, the Daniel and the cooler Daniel. This is literally just long shot, but better. You can be closer to the enemy, and you always get the full effect. You know? So it's just the cooler long shot, I feel like. Though it does run into the same problem as Catch Your Breath, you will rarely, if ever, have no enemies within 8 meters. So, you know, just like Longshot, this spends most of its time not doing anything. Opening salvo is really good, primarily because Shock Trooper got fixed. So opening salvo with Shock Trooper basically allows for the Recon Lasgun to shoot pretty much forever now. You will be critting like 35% of the time as like a baseline with that weapon now. So that just effectively gives you 35% more ammo. Well, actually more, because you consider that it crits in bursts of 2, so it's actually like 60% more ammo, because you're getting 2 shots for the price of 1, and it's actually costing you nothing. So, yeah. On every other weapon, this is pretty bad, I will say. I would never... I mean, this is... no, because you have to manually reload, so it's not really good on revolvers or shotguns or... Okay, look. It's basically only good on the Recon Lasgun, now that I think about it. Field Improv... There are some silly Billy knucklehead McSpasmatrons out there that don't like this node. And I think it's because they don't fully understand it. So, field improvisation makes it so that every single crate placed down by every single player, no matter where they are or what the circumstance is, gets this effect. The only time this isn't true is if, let's say you're the veteran with field improv, if you die, those 30 seconds that you're respawning, I'm not talking about when you need to be rescued, by the way, just when you are off the map and respawning, then it's not active for other people. But in every other time, this is active for every crate placed down by everyone. The actual effect of this is primarily the corruption restore. So let's say you're fighting a demon host, or let's say you're fighting, I don't know, people are getting scraped by 5 enemies, or you're holding a grimoire or whatever. You drop this crate, and it effectively acts as a Medicaid. It resets grimoires back to their basic amount of corruption, and it removes the built up. It heals everyone after a demon host. It heals everyone after a beast of Nurgle. It clears off all those cuts and scrapes that people will accumulate. The best place this is used, by the way, is like every end event ever. Because if it's an end event that like doesn't have a Medicaid nearby, then this effectively acts as a Medicaid. You know, you have half a wound of corruption taken because of gunners or whatever the fuck, then you just pop into the crate for a split second, and you're all healed back up to full. It also gives everyone grenades. So you get 2 crates, that's 8 uses, that's 8 extra grenade boxes. That's crazy. Especially for like the Ogren nuke. Twin Blast sucks. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. So let me just throw 3 grenades and watch. Statistically speaking, it's not going to proc a single time. And it didn't. Okay, let's throw 6 grenades. Maybe it procs now. Okay, maybe after 9 grenades it procs. Okay, there we go. So you see what I'm saying? It took 7 grenades to get 1 use out of that. Why wouldn't I just take this, where I get 7 guaranteed grenades over 7 minutes? Or why would I not take this, where every like waves of specialists that spawns is a modifier, which there's like 20, 30 of those, gives me like a realistic 40-ish% chance to get it. The problem is this 20%. Fat Shark needs to make this a guarantee. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think this node, and this node should be removed from the skill tree. I think focus target should be removed, and I think there should be a grenade keystone right here. And I think it should just have demo team, demo stockpile, and twinned blast, but with 100% effectiveness built into the node somehow. Or maybe as like modifiers. Dude, it really does. It needs to be something like after 30 kills or 100 kills or whatever. It needs to be like Grail Knight's potion effect, just for grenades. And then the modifiers need to be like demo team, demo stockpile, twin blast. Because let's say you throw 60 grenades in a mission. This is going to average out to 12 extra grenades. Dude, I can get like 60 grenades by taking demo stockpile and demo team. If I take demo team, and I have a horrible run, and I only get like 15 grenades from it, which is like the worst case scenario possible, that is still more grenades than I'd get from Twinned Blast if I have 60 grenades thrown total. So like, this node is it's just bad. It needs to be at least 50% chance. If it was a 50% chance, let's say I throw 40 grenades, that averages out to like 20 grenades, that would put it in line with demo stockpile and demo team. The other problem is for this to be good, you have to take both of these. Because without these, you're not generating enough grenades to throw in the first place to even have a realistic chance of ever proccing this. This also comes into the equation that the best use of this is to throw double enhanced cracks at a boss to take like half their health off immediately. But I already explained the problems with cracks and all the downsides that come with it. You're giving up so much to do that. And then there's a chance it won't even happen. This needs to be either 50% chance or guaranteed. Guaranteed's probably too strong. 50%'s probably where it should be. I've already said everything there is to say about demo stockpile. I'm not going to rehash. Grenadier, whatever the fuck you want to call this. This node is bad unless you're using crack grenades. If you are using crack grenades, this is mandatory. So, this actually takes away the biggest problem with Krak grenades, and that's the 3 uses. I still don't think they're good, but man, this makes them a bottom 3 blitz and moves them all the way up to like A tier. Like, I think these things become actually pretty okay with Grenadier. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one grenade. You don't care if you hold 4, 10, Timbuk2 grenades with the Shredder. And you don't care if... You could give me 50 smoke grenades and I still wouldn't care, dude. So, you know, this basically only exists to get rid of the weakness of these. A weakness no other grenade has, so why are we even building that in as a weakness? It's not like these are better. Leave no one behind is an interesting node, and I'm not going to spend 5 minutes talking about it like last time. Basically, look, the best part of this is the 20% revive speed. And guess what? You can get 30% from Curios. The best part of this perk is worse than if you just invested Curios to do the same thing. So that's already kind of an ouch moment. Then you consider 33% damage reduction it's just nothing. So you might say, how can you say that when you were just glazing this and like this, and that's the same? Because these are active basically all the time when you need them. If you are reviving me and I need damage reduction from that revive, dude, I need like 50% minimum reduction for like 25 seconds, not 30% for 5 seconds. Also, if the idea is you're going to go infiltrate, then revive me, if you felt the need to stealth up to revive me in the first place, I'm probably in such a bad situation that 5 seconds of minor damage reduction is not going to help me. I'm probably just going to get shot to death again and die. I personally would never take this node. It's just the wrong kind of support, you know? It just doesn't do enough. Okay, let's talk ultimates. I don't have too much to say about these if I'm being honest. So, Executioner Stance. Basically, this is just a massive buff to your guns. That's really all you need to know about it. It also highlights all the elites and specialists, and every kill with those highlighted enemies resets the cooldown. So it's basically an always active mega damage bonus. Which, okay, but none of the meta weapons benefit from it. The bolter doesn't need that damage. The plasma gun doesn't need that damage. Las guns can use the damage, but, like... We'll talk about it. I don't want to, but we'll talk about it. It's just an okay ability, you know? You're not, like, making a bad decision if you take it. But it just, you know... I don't know, it's hard to talk about this. It's so vanilla. However, I will say these modifiers are fucking terrible. So right here, I hate this. Because these are the kills you need to refresh the duration of the ability. This is just saying, hey, teammates, steal my kills, please. Make it so my ultimate is less effective and I get less time in it. You know, so okay. Thanks for that, dude. Counterfire is kind of also bad, because while yes, it does give you basically unlimited time in the ultimate, it also makes it much harder to see, like, where's the trapper spawning. You know, before you get wall hacks, now you have to decipher between, like, the 50 guys that are highlighted. But, you know, I guess this is the best modifier if you were going to take any. And who gives a fuck about outlining Ogrins? You know, unless you're going to use the plasma gun, you don't care about outlining Crushers. Unless you're going to use the plasma gun or the bolter and you're going to mag dump on it, you don't care about outlining a bulwark. So this is basically only useful for Reapers. But dude, you're already using Marksman's Focus. Just kill the Reaper in 2 seconds, you know? I don't know. I think Marksman's Focus isn't all that useful. I think it's a fine ultimate. Let's put it this way. It's a fine ability, but it's not necessarily a good one. The revolver build that lets you one-shot Crushers with it, that is pretty okay, and that's probably the best way to use this, but man, that build's just not that good. Especially now, in the modern meta after Locked and Loaded, that is like an A-tier build at best. Shout, we're just going to talk quickly. Shout knocks over everything in... You remember that bubble of invincibility where I said you're never going to not have an enemy in it? Yeah, so now it just hard stuns them. It even stuns Crushers as well, by the way. It also knocks out bulwarks, and it restores all your toughness. So if you have 200 toughness, you lose it all, you pop this, you get it back. It also gives gold toughness to everyone in coherency. Gold toughness makes it so snipers and poxbursters and yada 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 stop hurting you. It also makes your new toughness cap that plus 50, golden toughness. So all the toughness restore nodes that everyone has on their trees will now restore that toughness as over in that 15-second window. By the way, if you use triple CDR on your curios and you use tactical awareness, you can shout, kill a special, kill another special, and maintain 100% uptime. You only need one special kill with a Psyker. So if you're playing with a Psyker who's using Psykinetics Aura and Seer's Presence, which, let's be honest, they should, all you need to do is kill one special, and this is 100% uptime. Well, let's talk about only in depth. So this is probably the worst skill in the entire game. It's a massive noob trap because it's the only skill in the game that has anti-synergy built into it. So this cuts 30% off your radius. This makes the radius go from 9 meters to 6 meters. So first off, let's just talk about that. For you to revive more than one person at a time with this skill, you need to have more than one person downed this far away from you. How often does that really happen? You have 2 or 3 teammates down and they're within arm's reach of one another? I don't think that happens very often at all. If I'm being honest with you. Oh man, I need to refund this. Hold on. It just doesn't happen very much, like, at all. And the bigger issue here is the 50% ability cooldown. This, like, halves the amount of shouts you get. It halves the golden toughness uptime, which has negative synergy with your toughness damage reduction, because now you get less amount of time with more toughness to be reduced in the first place. You get less bailouts to get all your toughness back. You get less chances to stun everything. This node is a gigantic noob trap, and there's no justification to take it. I just don't understand why the radius nerf is built into it. Because look, you see this? This, by the way, if you want to gauge distance on abilities, just hold F instead of pressing it, and you can see. Fun little trick you probably didn't know about. But now, for some reason, it's not giving me my ultimate back like it should. But we'll just talk while this is ticking down. So this, like, you could remove the radius and the cooldown increase, and it would still be a toss-up of if this node would be worth it. I'm sure a lot of people would say it is, and they would take it then, but right now it's just not. So look at this radius. Look at this! I mean, look! You need allies downed in this tiny-ass circle to actually, like, you know, to actually get them up. That is awful. Okay, now let's talk about infiltrate. So I'm going to just tell you right now, I don't like this ultimate. And there's some philosophical reasons why. So I'm going to say this right now. Stealth is very selfish. It is inherently selfish because stealth makes it so all the enemies run to your teammates. And if you're going to be taking selfish choices, that's fine. I actually don't think that's a problem, unlike a lot of people. I think it's totally fine to be a greedy, selfish asshole. However, let's talk, because I'm not going to try to relate here with people that are like, you know what, fuck my team, I don't give a shit, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you what convinced me to stop thinking like that. There's a big tactical reason to it. If you're so much better than your teammates, and you believe that they suck, they aren't worth caring about, and you're just going to use stealth because it's like the most broken thing in the game, it breaks the enemy AI completely, why would you use something that makes it harder for your teammates, which makes them go down even faster? And now you have a larger percentage of time where you are not getting any help. It just doesn't, it makes you a shitty teammate. It's not fun for other people. I think those are like the two most salient issues, frankly. But even if you are like a sociopath and you don't care about your teammates at all, then guess what? I think that, lastly, since if you already believe they're bad players, killing them faster isn't going to help. It's just going to hurt you in the long run. So that is numero uno problem with stealth. And that's a huge problem with low profile, because you can stealth, run to gunners, pop out, suppress them. I'm not saying that makes you a sociopath or selfish or anything. I'm purely talking about people that take stealth because they don't care if it makes life harder for their teammates. So that makes low profile terrible. Let me just rip this band-aid off. This makes it so that you don't draw aggro for 10 seconds. So you get 8 seconds of no aggro, and then 10 further seconds. 18 seconds of only being targeted by things you attack first. So that just basically means you're not a teammate for 18 seconds, effectively, when it comes to taking aggro off enemies. That makes the life of your teammates a lot harder. So if you already think they're bad, it just creates a catch-22. But it's also just kind of asshole-ish in general. I wish this kind of stuff wasn't in the game, frankly. I don't think it should be. Anyway, so Infiltrate is just worse Shroudfield. Shroudfield is good because the Zealot can get it back so quickly that they can use it basically immediately after using it. And it also gives them like quadruple damage for an attack. So it lets you do objectives, which this does. It lets you set up situations, which this does. But because it has so much less, like a worse cooldown and ways to get it back, you just get to set up less situations and do less objectives. The suppression is nice, but I'd rather just kill everything. Hunter's Resolve and Surprise Attack both suck. Purely because this is 10 seconds, this is 5 seconds, it needs to be like 25 or 30 seconds. If you are a skilled player, investing in all CDR and using tactical awareness and killing most of the specialists before your teammates, you should be rewarded that, if you're going Infiltrate to run behind enemy lines to kill specialists, you should be able to maintain 100% uptime on these abilities, like 80% at the least. That should be a possible, very accomplishable thing. But right now, you maintain like 10% uptime on the 5-second one and like 20% uptime on the 10-second one. They suck. There's nothing these could ever really do that makes me want them because of the uptime. Unless this said, like, this would need to say the next hit you take after leaving Infiltrate does no damage. And then this would need to say Infiltrate now grants 100% damage on the attack that breaks stealth. Something like that, then I might be interested. But without that, they suck. Overwatch is basically mandatory, so let me try to explain this well. Okay. Just collecting my thoughts. Give me a second. So, this is actually an increase to your cooldown, even though the cooldown is longer. Because you have one more charge, you can use it faster and more liberally, which means it spends more time on cooldown. The more time an ability actually spends on cooldown, the more uses you get out of it, because less percentage of the total uses is wasted by sitting at the cap. The ABCs of video games. Always be casting. You should always throw your grenades in Call of Duty. You should always drink your potions in an RPG. You should always use your ultimate in an ultimate game. Virtually, for all three of those, as much as possible. Because something unused is something wasted. Using something suboptimally 2 times will provide greater value than using something optimally 1 time but missing a use because you held on to it for that best case time. This solves the potion dilemma in RPG games. This solves the I spawn in with an overpowered rocket launcher in Call of Duty dilemma. This lets you optimize all your usage. And Overwatch, that +1 charge is absolutely worth the cooldown penalty. Because if you use Infiltrate once, and you can use it again, that gives you more, like, percentage usage than just using one, but faster. It also makes CDR better for the Kyrios, which you should be using anyway, especially with something at this long of a cooldown. Like, it's just, All right, now let's talk about the best part. God damn. It's been an hour and we haven't even gotten to this. I really hope you don't think I'm dragging. I really do feel like all these explanations have been necessary. So I think every single veteran build should take these 3 nodes, virtually without exception. Let's talk about why. So let's look at the damage we do without these nodes. So we do 821 without these nodes. With these nodes, we do 1113. That is genuinely like, you know, that's like a 20-30% increase to our damage output. This is like a 10-15, it's closer to like a 10% damage increase to everything, including your melee. This is just 15% damage to the most commonly tanky enemies you're going to fight. And it works on your melee and it works on your ranged weapon. So these three nodes provide a shit ton of value. They are constant damage to everything, to almost everything, almost all the time. Fully loaded is just because of the mechanics of how ammo works. So if you look, with fully loaded, I do a shot, and now I can pick up 26 bullets. Without fully loaded, I do a shot, and I can only pick up, like, you know, like 21. So this gives me, like, 2 more plasma gun shots worth of ammo for every single pickup. So you're not taking this necessarily because of the increased ammo. You're taking it because it makes every single ammo pickup 25% more efficient. Red packs restore half of your ammo. This makes them restore effectively what used to be like 75% of your ammo. That alone makes it worth it. It also makes survivalists give you more back as well. So even if you're not planning on using your gun a whole bunch, this is so much value it's hard to ignore. Okay, let's talk suppression immunity. And let's actually do a much better demonstration of why I don't think it's very good. So, first off, and this was completely on me for doing a stinky doo-doo head moronic silly billy example. Weapons like the plasma gun or braced auto guns, you can't actually get suppressed with them. Because they count as, you know, they count as like braced weapons. So, I will say, this automatically makes this node suspect. Because the plasma gun, veteran's best weapon, can't really benefit from it. So let's use a weapon that ADSs so we can see what it's like. So this is what it's like without determined. Stupid shotgun. I'm deleting this setup. Okay, this is what it's like without determined. Now, I will say, if you reach the point where your toughness shatters like that, you're probably already dead. But let's spawn a few guys. Yeah, you see that little, like, reticule? Yeah, I explained this poorly, not because I was trying to, like, disenfranchise it or, like, be logically fucked up or anything. I just didn't know this was what suppression even looked like. This little, like, aim reticle bouncing. This thing? Not the, like, giant showcase. It's this. You see how my aim is solid here? And now watch. It's going to start swaying. Yeah, that little minuscule bounce. That's the thing people are talking about. This is what it's like with determined. And I'm sorry if you take offense to this, but this is garbage. If this actually impedes your aim, like, substantially, then, dude, I'm gonna be real with you, man. Unless you're a controller player, you need to fucking hit the aim labs, dude. This is such a non-issue. I genuinely didn't even know that's what it was until someone, like, pointed it out to me. There is no universe where that should actually be, like, a substantial problem to your aim. I'm sorry if I sound harsh on this, but it's the truth, man. If that throws your aim off substantially, Aim Labs is over there and it's free, buddy. You know, like the old meme goes. Deadshot sucks. There was one guy who took big issue with the previous version of this video. And this was part of why. Listen, man, I used to be the biggest Deadshot lover, and I'm sorry, but we gotta give it up, dude. This node is just not good anymore, man. So, hold on. Let me put the microphone in a better place. So, here's the biggest problem with Deadshot, right? Let me just pull out a machine gun. And it's gone. Okay, well, let me pull out an infantry las gun. You know, like, and it's gone. So, 20%, 25% crit chance is nice, but I mean, look, it's just it's so impossible to consistently manage your stamina with this node that I have completely turned on it. I think it's one of the bad nodes. Even if you're using a slow firing, high precision weapon, like I think the only weapon that can get any kind of value out of this at all, and I mean this at all, is the revolver. Because you're going to pull it out, kill the crusher, kill another crusher, kill another crusher, and like that's it. And then you're done shooting. I think this is probably the only weapon in the entire game that can get any kind of use out of this node. It doesn't give enough crit chance, and it consumes too much stamina. If it gave 30% crit chance, but consumed half as much stamina for aiming and per shot, then we'd probably have a pretty good node. I used to be one of those people that was like, well, you could theoretically use duck and dive and like 3 stamina curios and blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Shut up, old Tanner. You're stupid and wrong and an asshole. Be quiet. Born Leader's pretty good. I mean, it does exactly what it says. They change it like every patch, though. So if you're playing in a patch where stuff like Out for Blood and like Confirmed Kill works with it, then it's really good. If not, then it's not very good. For the Emperor is really bad because 5 seconds is just not a lot. There's just nothing else to this. Would be a great ability if it lasted for like 25 seconds. Fat Shark needs to understand that for buffs like this, if the buff is going to be minor, like 10%, and it's going to apply to a bunch of people, you need to make it so I can maintain at least 80% uptime on it, or else I'm never going to rely on it, and if I can't rely on it, why am I taking it in the first place? Suppressing the enemy is really freaking strong, though. This node, I kind of like taking it even with plasma gun builds, even though people always tell me you shouldn't. Look at this, dude. With the innate plasma gun suppression, you can just shoot in the general direction of gunners, and you can, like, make them stop. I know that wasn't a good showcasing, but hold on. You can just kind of shoot in these guys' general direction. See? And you can just, like, make them stop. Fuck. Oh, man. This is best used, though, I will say, with machine guns. This is where this node really shines. Because now you just, like... See? You see what I'm getting at here? Even if we put them, like, absolutely everywhere, and now we start playing like we would in a normal game, you can, like, really shut down a wide field of gunners very fast. Let me try this one more time with the plasma gun. I swear to God, it was just me being a garbage scrub noob. So look. See? It can very quickly shut down a row of gunners. Maybe I'm just crazy for liking it. I will say, though, with machine guns, this thing goes crazy hard. Okay, let me get these two out of the way now. I think virtually every single veteran build should take Reciprocity and Desperado basically without fail. Why do I think that? Oh, fuck. I'm going to have to jump cut this. So, where were we? Yeah, we were... We're talking about Reciprocity and Desperado. So I think these should be in every single veteran build. Basically, these two nodes are as good as Blazing Piety, the one node on the Keystone node for the Zealot. Think about it. 10% critical hit chance and 25% critical hit chance. 35% critical hit chance, that's like more than the Zealot Keystone gives you when you're spending the 2 skill points to get the extra 10%. And 25% finesse bonus is half of Duelist. So this is like half of Duelist plus better Blazing Piety. I mean, it's really hard to get higher value than that. In fact, I would go as far as to say that if a veteran build doesn't take these two passives, it's probably not a super sweaty, like very optimized veteran build. Because these two nodes single-handedly make Veteran able to hang in melee. Though, he does also need this and this, but I'll talk about that when we get there. These are such gigantic boosts to Veteran's ability to do melee damage that playing without them, play a Zealot, You know, play like my Zealot build with like charge thing, the one that I posted, and then play a veteran build without these two nodes. And dude, melee feels like trash. So close quarters kill zone falls into the exact same trap as for the Emperor. 10 seconds is better. It's twice as good, in fact. It's just still not long enough. Even if you're using Shout and you're using it on cooldown, this has maybe 50% uptime in fights, which is good, but make it like 15 seconds. Make all these 15 seconds at the bare minimum so it lines up with duty and honor, please. Fat Shark! Make the 3 red veteran passives 15 seconds and my life is yours! You know, like, why? This is so aggravating to look at. 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Pick a number! Pick a number! Like, seriously, just pick a number and stick with it, please. But, yeah. 15% damage it's good enough to run. It's universal damage. Though I would say, even if this was 15 seconds, I still probably wouldn't take it. Because, you know, like, there's just better things to take, like superiority complex. Duck and Dive is a node that I used to shill heavily, but honestly, I don't like it anymore. If I'm already dodging or running or sliding from a ranged attack, I probably don't need more stamina. So unless you're using Strip Down, I don't think this skill's very good. I think time has been very unkind to this skill. I think back then I was just too invested in stamina to really, you know, see the forest from the trees here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think this node is very good. It's not a ton of stamina, and there's also just better ways to get stamina if you wanted it. Sorry, Duck and Dive, but I think you're time to take you out back behind the shed. Shock Trooper used to suck, and now it's very good. It used to have like an internal cooldown on it. You could only proc it like once every 3 seconds, I've been told, and that kind of kills it. But now that you can proc it as much as you want, on top of Recon Lasguns getting big buffs, dude, this is basically mandatory if you're going to use them. I already talked about this. Marksman is okay. 20% damage is good. It's also strength, so it increases cleave, but there's really no use for this. Yeah, I mean, again, if this were 15 seconds, I would use it. But it's not 15 seconds, so I'm not going to use it. Iron Will is one of the best defensive passives in the entire game. So let me show you just some kooky guy things you can get up to with this node. So let's just spawn a couple of these guys. So you can let them shoot you and then shout. And I mean, did you see that? How long it took them to break through this? Like, you can really sit there, and then you have the instant reset, and that's just if you stand there and take it. If you actually try, you know, you put in any effort to avoid taking damage, so you're not getting hit literally 20 times a second. Let me just show it with one guy. See how long I can hold on to this toughness? And then if I ever lose a bunch of it, I can always use Shout to immediately get a bunch more of it. Very, very good node. Honestly, I think it's probably an overrated node. I don't think you have to take this, but I think you'd have to make a very good argument as to why you're not taking it. Especially because tactical awareness should just be in every build. Like, straight up. I mean, I don't even know what else I can say about this node. 6 seconds on specialist kill? Like, kill 100 specialists, that's 600 seconds off your ultimate. Your ultimate's 30 seconds. You know, that's like 20 uses of Shout that this one node provides you. Yeah, okay, that's balanced. I already said everything I need to say about this. This is bad. This is just bad, straight up. So, it only applies on crit, which is fine, because you want crit. Oh yeah, something I forgot to explain about these two. Let me just give the full package here real quick. So this is 25% attack speed. Let me just explain why Veteran can hang with a Zealot in terms of melee. So you get the 1 kill, and now look at your attack speed. Now, if you use these two plus riposte on your weapon, you have a 65% crit chance. So base 5% crit chance, 5% on the weapon, that's 10%. Desperado is 10%. that's 20%. Reciprocity is 25, so that's 45%. Riposte pushes you to that final 20, that's 65% chance. 65% crit chance, that's like what zealots are hanging around. So you're like you're critting almost as much as a zealot, and you're getting that finesse bonus, which is like half of duelist. So you're not hitting quite as hard as they would, but you also have the same attack speed bonuses as they do. Veteran, this is I don't understand why people say that the dueling sword going to zealot was this big like thing. Guys, it was already crazy on the Psyker with Disrupt Destiny and Scryer's Gaze. The veteran has always had the ability to make it as crazy as it would be on zealot, and zealot is zealot. You know, like it's whatever. We're not having this conversation right now. The point is, you can make the veteran as good, if not better, than the zealot in melee. Anyway, let's go back to talking about exploit weakness. Sorry about that. So exploit weakness, you have to get a critical hit, which right now with the meta weapons like the Mark 6 Power Sword, the Devil's Claw, the Dueling Sword, the knife, if you are getting critical headshots with those, that target's not gonna live for 2 of those things, dude. Second off, like 20% brittleness is not a lot. I'm gonna have a whole thing about this when we get to Rending Strikes, but I'm just going to say this. I'm going to preemptively poison the well here. Low amounts of Rending or Brittleness are not good. And no, they do not even help versus non-armored targets. Please stop saying that. And I'm going to prove that in just a second. Because it's not that they don't help, it's that they aren't substantial and they don't matter. Let me say it that way, because it could be very easy to misunderstand if I say it doesn't help. So 20% is not a lot. You need to get 2 melee criticals, which if you've already critically hit the enemy in the head twice with your dueling sword, how is it still alive? You know? Okay. This, though, is the biggest issue with exploit weakness. First off, a 25 toughness boost is generally going to give you a lot more survivability than this gives you offense. Second off, onslaught. I just want to showcase what onslaught is like, because wowie zowie is this really good. So this is what shooting a Crusher with Onslaught is like. It's not good, but it's not terrible either, right? I think we can all agree on that. Well, here's what it's like without Onslaught. Garbage. It sucks. It's terrible. You will never punch through this armor. So, Onslaught applies to everything, including your melee. It stacks up to 40% brittleness, so this stacks up easier because it can work even on your ranged gun, your machine gun. It gives you double the effectiveness of this. I just don't see a world where you're ever taking this over this. I don't even see a world where you're taking this over 25 flat toughness to then get boosted by your curios. I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing it. Trench Fighter Drill is deceptively strong. So this is your attack speed without it. And this is your attack speed with Trench Fighter Drill. I know it's only 10%, but man, you have to admit, that doesn't look like 10%. It's more so the fact that 10% attack speed on a medium speed weapon, a medium speed weapon like the Dueling Sword is crazy. On something like the Power Sword, it's not too noticeable until you stack Weapon Specialist with it, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, Trench Fighter Drill is amazing. Honestly, every class, I think, except for Ogryn, has a 10% melee attack speed node now with the Psyker rework. And dude, I have to be honest with you, I genuinely think you should take these 10% attack speed nodes in every single build. I think 10% melee attack speed is probably a top 5, top 3 best passive node on the Veteran tree, the Zealot tree, and the Psyker tree. And I really don't see a reason to not take it on, like, all of them. Skirmisher sucks, though. So, Skirmisher, in theory, can be really good. The problem is that the stacks need to last for, like, 15 seconds, if I'm being honest with you. Because, let me just show you what this is like. So, we do 71 damage, and now we run around, and now we do 74. So, we got that 5% damage. But look, this is how much you need to run to get a single stack. Well, fuck. Well, fuck. 81. See, so you've got to fight, and then after like, you know, after like 5 seconds, you've got to say, oh boy, let me turn around and run away. And you got to sprint for like 3 seconds to not lose the stacks. It's just so awkward. They need to like double how long the stacks last for. And remember, this is competing with Trench Fighter Drill. So you're asking me to give up 10% attack speed, which makes all this other stuff much better. So dude, this needs to be lasting for like 16 seconds, and I need to get the stacks twice as fast. That's the only universe I would take this. Competitive Urge is a lot better than you probably think. So let me just pull up a random scoreboard here. One with a Maelstrom with 4 players would be preferred. So, you know, 600 kills, almost 600 kills. This guy joined in at the end. So 400 kills, and the guy he replaced had like 400-ish kills. So 1,200, I'm rounding, like 1,800, or no, I'm sorry, 1,600, and then like 2,400. Then we add in this stuff. So yeah, you're honestly getting at the, and you know, like at the top, like up here at the end, you're getting anywhere from 2,500 to like, you know, 2,500 to like 2,700 total kills, 3,000 if you're unlucky. 2.5% chance for 8 seconds whenever an ally kills an enemy. So I'm just gonna pull out a calculator real quick, and we're gonna go with 2.5 thousand. Hold on. What is 2.5% of 2,500? 62. So this is going to activate, on average, 62 times, because it's not a coherency skill. Any kill that you or anyone else gets is going to activate this. So on average, 62 times. Now we multiply that by 8 for the uptime. We get 500 seconds. We divide that by 60 for minutes. This is going to be active for 8 minutes. 8 minutes is about like 32, like 40-ish% of a Maelstrom. So this has like 30%-ish uptime in a Maelstrom. 30% of flat 20% damage is not terrible. I don't take it all that often, but, you know, it is not the worst thing on planet Earth. It's not useless, I'll say that much. You know, 8 minutes of uptime, 20% damage for 8 minutes is not bad. I still wouldn't take it, though. You will be discussed right before we talk Keystones. This is about as simple as a Keystone gets. It makes you far better at dealing with crushers and dealing with monsters. I can't believe I have to talk about this stupid note again. So, Rending strikes. 10% rending is awful. I am going to showcase this in every way possible, and then make my a video dedicated to talking about it. So look at how much damage this does. Does 37 on a crit. Now let's take Rending strikes. And now let's look. Hold on, to make this easier, let me just pull this out. So we do 37 on a crit. And what do we do now? 52. But you can see our damage is actually way better. Though I will say that is because this weapon is just better set up for killing crushers with this. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, it's a negligible increase versus crushers. Like, because you have some amount of damage punched through, you can like actually deal damage to these guys now. Here, just to be fair, because I compared it to this. You get some negligible damage. But the thing that yeah, this is way worse, because this weapon's not set up for this. It's a demonstration gun. So that's way worse. So you go from this with Rending strikes to this without Rending strikes. So it actually gives you the ability to damage them. Here's where I have issue. There is this sentiment going around the community of... Well, not really community or really going around. It's actually just a couple people that comment every time I say this, and I just need to explain why you guys are not correct. Yes, Rending does give you... I showcase Rending versus Carapace, and I mentioned how it sucks. Like, Rending Strike sucks versus these guys. And every time, without fail, someone comes out of the woods and is like, did you know that it actually gives you damage versus every damage type, not just Carapace? Can you please stop focusing on that? I'm going to show you this right now in no unequivocal terms. 10% Rending doesn't do fucking anything versus anything that isn't Carapace, Flak, or Unyielding. So look, right here. 71 damage versus the Infested. And then look. Goddamn. 71, okay? If we do a charged attack, we'd have to do it on one of these guys. So right here. 82 versus a Maniac. Then we take this off. 81. Okay? This is not a damage boost worth talking about. So 990 on a headshot melee with the dueling sword. Then we do Rending Strikes. That was a goddamn critical. And now we go up to 1015. Like, it's such a negligible amount of damage on these, like, small trash guys that's why I only talk about the Carapace. And now, let's talk about bleeds, because I know you've heard this before. Rending buffs bleeds. You're right, and that's very good with Uncanny. However, it ticks for 28. And now, look. Those of you who are more, have functioning memory olfactories will remember it doesn't do anything because it's such a small amount of damage, because bleeds are kind of bad in general, but it's such a small amount of damage that it doesn't fucking matter. So again, it only matters versus Crushers because it's such a small amount of Rending. So we go from 100 damage and 14 ticks to 150 damage and 20 ticks. Which, by the way, can I mention, that's nothing. 3 grenades with Rending Strike are, like, still pretty bad if you don't have the red stim and you don't have Uncanny. Like, let's just compare that to Uncanny Strike. Where the hell is it? Okay, right here. Uncanny Strike. So if we get 5 stacks of Uncanny and throw the grenade, we do 74 on the dot. And if we add Rending Strikes, and then I'll forget to put this weapon on, sorry. If we add Rending Strikes, that 74 becomes dun-da-dun-da-da. What happened? I thought, but Rending buff bleed. I thought Rending was so good for bleed. Look, I'm sorry I'm being a little demeaning about this. I'm just sick of being told that I'm wrong. I'm just sick of being told that I'm wrong about this for an entire year when, hold on, let me pull this up. I was literally one of the first people ever to talk about this. Hold on. Hold on. Right here. Right here. You can check. It goes far back. There was very few people that was mentioning this synergy, and that was one of the first ever videos that I mentioned. So yes, I'm well aware, Rending can give damage to everything. However, Rending Strikes is so little Rending, and the things you're trying to buff do so little base damage, that it doesn't even get rounded up to be 1 more point of damage. Rending Strikes is objectively an awful, awful skill. There are some builds that make use of it. For example, the Revolver Veteran build, where you can one-tap Crushers and you do actually need Rending Strikes to hit that breakpoint. But that is literally the only build in the entire game that should ever take Rending Strikes, at least as far as I know. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I'll hear you out. I'll try it out. But please just understand what I'm saying. It doesn't help you ever versus, like, anything. It is such a small damage increase versus everything, because so few enemies have any amount. Let me put it this way. So few enemies that aren't like Crushers have so little damage reduction from innate armor that adding just 10% rending takes you fucking nowhere. And as far as overcap rending to get damage versus enemies that have no reduction, 10% isn't even enough to round up a dot by a single point of damage. So no, I understand you guys really like Rending Strike, and I'm really trying to reach out to you here and not be disparaging, but I just showed you, against targets with no damage reduction, it gives you practically nothing. Against targets that have a lot of damage reduction, it's an okay investment, but those are not the primary targets you're fighting, and it provides so little. Like, here, let me give you another example with the dueling sword. So 721 without Rending Strikes, and this is by the way, this is the most generous comparison, by the way. This is a thrusting weapon that does all of its damage in big singular hits on a weak spot on the most armored enemy in the game. This is the best Rending Strikes will ever be. We go from 721, that was a crit. Hold on. We go from 721, this is the second time in a row that happened, by the way, but we go from 721 probably to like 850-ish. Not even 820. So this gives us 100 damage to a crusher. The absolute peak of Rending Strike is not worth knowing about. And you want to know what's really crazy? Bring It Down gives you more damage than Rending Strike does anyway to the enemy that would benefit the most from having Rending Strikes against. I'm sorry. There isn't even a way you can play devil's advocate for Rending Strikes. Ever since it got nerfed from 25%, it is a mathematically, objectively awful skill node. And unless you are using it to specifically hit a breakpoint, it is just a literal waste of skill points. Okay. I hope that wasn't too aggressive or mean or anything. I hope some of you guys that are still on the Rending Strike should be in every build train can see the light, you know, and save yourself a skill point. Okay, let's talk about Keystones now. Marksman's Focus is another fat L that I'm going to have to hold because I used to kind of shill this node a little bit because it actually used to be pretty good with the Columnus. It would allow the Columnus to one-tap trash mobs where it otherwise wouldn't, which would actually make it a horde-clearing monster and a great last resort. But to do that with the Recon Lasgun, you need a damage stim, basically. That's the most realistic way to do it. Excuse me. So that kind of hurts this node a lot. But let me show you the proper way to use this node. Because people use it wrong all the time. So you just throw it on and then shoot at head height on the horde. And you stack it up really quickly. And when you do this, you don't even consider the downside. You don't move differently. You don't ever do anything. You just play as if you didn't have it. And then you just let it activate and get used as a damage buff. You know, you see, I'm still not losing it. And then you just go and use it on, like, these guys as a huge damage increase. Because it really, truly is. It's like a 30 to 40% DPS increase. But all of the best weapons outside of the Recon Lasgun can't even benefit from this. And I'll be honest, they just benefit more from the other Keystones. The current metagame is not kind to this. And honestly, this node's not... This node at its best is acceptable, but it's not, like, blow your pants off or anything. Chink in their armor is Rending Strikes with a conditional. I will let you decide if you like that. If you saw that whole demonstration on Rending Strikes, the 0 damage that it adds to dots or anything to anything, if you saw all of that and you still believe Rending Strikes is an amazing node, I want to shake your hand. I'm going to say I completely disagree with you. I think you should shut the hell up. But I'll respect your opinion. So, if you were convinced by that spiel that this is a terrible node, this is this node, but with the drawbacks of this node. So, I'll let you decide. This is the best way for this because this just gives you 50% bigger damage bonus. Camouflage sucks. Please don't be one of those veterans trying to do the penance where you're just crab walking like this with camouflage and you're just trying to do this. This is garbage. You're going to finish that penance after like 20 games playing like that, and you're going to drag your team down. Camouflage is a gigantic noob trap. So look at this. Look, let's see how quick it stacks up. This sucks. Okay. Wow. Look, we're still not at 10. Okay, now let's take camouflage off. I bet in the time this took to give us 10, we can mag dump on the horde and get to like 15. Yeah, no, we can. We can actually just easily get to 15 in like half the time that took. There is zero reason to ever use camouflage. It is an awful, awful nobe. This is probably why people think Marksman's Focus is bad. They take this so they can negate the movement penalty, thinking that as long as they just run in short bursts or whatever, they won't have to, you know... Ugh, Fat Shark, please, 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 please do something with this. Tunnel vision, I think this is just bugged. I actually think this Keystone is bugged. Hold on, hold on. I'm never going to get a chance to talk about this. But look at this. You're not who I want. I need a Poxburster. So it says replenish 5% toughness per stack. But look at this. So replenish 5% toughness per stack. Does it work like the Out for Blood, where I just get 5% toughness every time I build stacks? Well, no, I just built 3 stacks and didn't get any toughness. Okay, so maybe it increases my toughness regeneration. Well, I've got 10 stacks. That should be 50% regeneration. And no, I like regenerate at like the same speed. So either I'm blind and I just can't tell the difference, or this is fucking bugged and doesn't actually do anything. Hold on, let me just lose all my focus stacks and then do the same thing. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm just fucking crazy, man. But, like, to me, this is ticking up at, like, the same speed. You know? Like, and now it's ticking up faster because I have 2 of them going. Like, I don't... Maybe I'm just fucking blind and I need to time it. But I will say Tunnel Vision plus Deadshot is an okay synergy. You know? Honestly, though, I would just recommend avoiding this whole section. Okay, let's talk tag. You're it. Focus Target is, in my opinion, the best veteran keystone for most people. This keystone is brain dead easy to use. You just let the stacks build, and then you drop them on someone. And now you deal a bunch more damage to them. I don't think you need to wait for full stacks. I don't think, you know, I think as long as you have 2 stacks and that 8% damage on top, but you do need to take this node as well. With 5 stacks, this is like 7% damage. 2 stacks of this is 8% damage. That adds up to be like, you know, that adds up to be like fucking 15% damage. Sorry about that. So 15% damage. Hey, that's nothing to sneeze at. And if you do get all 5 stacks because you go a while without tagging, now you can drop like 27% damage on something. Though redirect fire does just give everyone... This has like 100% uptime, by the way. Because you need to kill an enemy with 5 stacks to get all 5 stacks. You can't kill someone with 3 stacks, then kill someone with 2 stacks, then get 5 stacks. Doesn't work that way, sports fans. So, what a fucking shitty reference. Anyway... So you get one big mark of 5, kill that guy, then you just use smaller marks for combined decent damage increases and to make sure the stacks never fall off. Focus fire, I actually don't think you should take it. Waiting for the 8 stacks is like an eternity. It's 16 seconds. It feels like it takes forever. And they aren't really that impactful. I know that it synergizes with redirect fire, so if you were going to do this, that's not really, like, bad. I just don't see the value in it because I'm tagging things often. You know, we kill something, move on, drop the next tag, 17% damage, 17% damage, so on and so forth, and then just go through guys like that. If you don't like that style of focus target and you just like giant big stacks always, then focus fire is really good. Target down is also really good, because at 5 stacks, this is 25% toughness for everyone. So, like, right here, look. This is 25% toughness, 10% toughness, 10% toughness. This is just, like, this basically just reads, at its absolute worst, turn every single elite that you kill as the veteran into 10% toughness for your team. That's pretty good, I think. But yeah, focus target, it's lazy, it's simple, it's easy to use. I love it. I recommend it to a lot of new players because you can't go wrong with it. Okay, now let's talk about what I think is the best one. And let's talk about another fat L that I'm going to have to hold. I made a tier list video a few months back, and I fucking think there's like 5 major errors in it. Some relating to Zealot, but this is probably the biggest blunder. This is probably just Veteran's best Keystone. And I was a silly Billy dumbass for not recognizing it at the time. A lot of this has to do with the dueling sword because part of the problem with this node was that the knife didn't really benefit too much from the attack speed because it just didn't hit very hard. Like it always benefited a lot, and in hindsight we were goofy for not using this the whole time. But the dueling sword hits hard enough that boosting its attack speed, so the dueling sword has like double the goddamn base damage of the knife, it feels like. Reciprocity, Desperado, and Riposte cover the critical chance. And these two nodes cover your attack speed. And this basically creates Zealot, but also really good at shooting guns. And has access to the most overpowered weapon in the entire game. Are you fucking joking? No way this happened twice. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking joking? No way this happened twice. All right, guys. Transition. What's happening, forum? My name's Tanner Lindbergh, and I'm a fucking dumbass piece of shit who has to keep adding parts of this video because the game keeps crashing. All right, where were we? Right, Zealot that has the plasma gun. Okay. Why are you not saving the edits to the build? Okay, there we go. It's saving now. Sorry, Fat Shark. Please do some bug fixing, please. Just I don't want to see nerfs. I don't want to see buffs. I don't want to see any more balance changes. Leave the balance as is. Just please, God, fix the bugs. That's the only thing I ask you. This game would be literally perfect. Just fix the bugs and add a few more missions and modifiers, and you'll have one of the best games released in the last 10 years. That's all I ask. Anyway, weapon specialist. So, let's explain how this actually works for people. Because I see a lot of confusion all the time. So you get a kill with your gun, and that gives you melee specialist. This gives you a massive boost to your attack speed. And this attack speed boost you can use to hopefully get more crits to kill the horde faster, so you can then pull your gun out to get a guaranteed crit with your gun and to reload a part of it. So a huge part of what has just basically led to total weapon specialist dominance is this node right here. 3% of your missing ammo. And I see this node misused all the time. This gives you more ammo back the more ammo you're missing. So, let me go under 100 ammo here to show this. And now let me build up 10 stacks. So it's based on how much ammo you have in the magazine that you're missing and how many stacks you have. So we get like 11 ammo right there, or like 12 or whatever. But if I keep doing this, you'll see how I'm going to get less and less back every single time. And also, this is without... I'm missing 35% crit chance, and you can see how quickly this is tearing through these hordes. But yeah, you could see, that time I only got 8. So, basically, every single time you build up stacks, you want to swap back, even if you don't shoot. Because look, here's a fun thing you can do. You can swap, cash in the stacks, and then keep doing that. Though if you don't shoot at least once, you will miss out on the melee bonus by swapping. So this is honestly incredibly powerful. This stuff, the stamina stuff, kind of sucks because you just don't need this much stamina. Why would you ever take the reload speed here when you're just ignoring reloading entirely through Always Prepared? And On Your Toes is honestly pretty nice. I think On Your Toes is a very nice node because especially if you're going to, instead of going this way, you go here, 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 here. Because this gives you 5% toughness on kill, right? So I'm sure you can already see the synergy here. You do this, that's 10% toughness, 5%, 5%. And then, so right here. So hold on, I got this wrong. So you killed these guys. You shoot through the horde once, and then you kill like 4 guys. There's 20% toughness. Swap, another 20% toughness. Every kill here is 5%. Then you get this. Then you swap. That's another 20%. You can unironically, without for blood, and on your toes, and like even a plasma gun as well, you can legitimately generate more toughness in melee than the Zealot. I'm not even joking. It is absurd how good this Keystone is. I highly implore you to try it at least a few times. Though I will say there's a lot you have to manage. You have to manage your stacks for one weapon, then utilize those stacks to get stacks for the other weapon while managing your demolition stuff. And then you have to, you know, you have to manage your grenades, make sure you're not overlapping grenades, make sure you aren't wasting your weapon specialist. There's a lot. Managing your cooldown on your ultimate, optimally using that. There's a whole lot you have to do if you want to get into weapon specialist. Oh yeah, it also makes your melee have an insane dodge. I forgot to mention this. So it adds like a meter of dodge to the dueling sword, and I mean, just look at this. I can run circles around these guys.
Did you know that?
Okay, that's all the talents. Let's talk loadouts now. So, this is going to be very simple and easy to explain. Dueling sword is the best. Knife is the second best. Power sword is up there as a really good weapon. The Devil's Claw Mark IV is probably the third best melee for the veteran. I would say that it probably goes, honest to God, dueling sword, knife, Devil's Claw, chain sword, power sword. Some people might think I'm crazy for that. I just do not value the damage that the power sword brings at all, because I believe the 4 weapons that I just listed in front of it, they are all more damaging. You could argue the chainsword isn't. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a contrarian with that one, but all 4 of those weapons are more mobile than the power sword. So they don't give up any damage. In fact, weapons like the dueling sword out-damage it, on top of being like 3 times as fast as it, both in attack speed and maneuverability. For your guns, your meta is going to be plasma gun and bolter, with an honorable mention to the recon las gun, the combat shotgun, and the revolver in that order. Really, any combination of all those items I just listed are going to be a near meta level build. As far as curios, you'll either see triple toughness or double toughness 1 stamina. And it's really up to you. Whew. Well, that was quite the ride. I didn't expect 2 things to happen that would make me have to stop recording. But, thanks. Thanks for watching. And, you know, thanks for all the positive reception that these videos have gotten. I hope this video doesn't come off as too aggressive. I know I'm a bit louder in it. I turned my volume up, you know, by popular demand a little bit. So I hope it doesn't make my shitty voice sound even shittier. But yeah, I hope you learned a lot and you can play the veteran better now. All right, can't wait to go through this process again with another class.